society is how it treats its women and girls. The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
We create
the smart, powerful, creative, accomplished young women.
We can fight.
I'm here because of you. I'm here because girls like you inspire me. Many of these girls have faced unthinkable obstacles just to attend school. The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
Won't stand still.
Your story is my story.
Buckle up, buttercups. It's another episode of Surly Voices here on WMNF Tampa 88.5. My name is Liz. I'm one of your hosts. Donna is on the Zoom bright and early this morning. How are you, Donna?
You know what? I'm holding on. How are you?
It's getting harder, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's like with the recent Supreme Court ruling on the Voting Rights Act, it's just, I mean, who would have thought that all the southern states had a bunch of racists running them, you know? They're up there cutting and carving all the different districts, and it's a mess. It's a hot mess. And so I've been seeing like calls for term limits for Supreme Court justices, and I'm not thinking that's a bad idea. What do you think?
You know what? I've worked on some of that stuff when I used to go back and forth up to D.C. What am I talking about? I was just in D.C. last week. Yeah, so we've been working on that since right before the Dobbs decision. There's actually groups of people around the country and nonprofits that have taken that cross up. But I wanted to, there's a lot of stuff going on. So I did a little bit of research and writing for this one.
Okay.
And I think today, Liz, I would like to stare directly into the collapse of empire.
Ah, okay.
Right, that's the angle that we're going to take today. Gas prices, the billionaire cosplay at the Met, you know.
Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Jeff bought the Met for his wife. Reminds me of the Vanderbilts and the stories they tell in The Gilded Age.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to get the thing about Lauren is that she was a woman of her own making, too. I mean, she was with a man who had $300 million. I mean, that helps. Certainly helps.
Yeah, because you can get a lot of work done with three.
You can do a lot of things. And she was actually very attractive, much more attractive. She's a natural beauty.
Yes.
Actually, extremely intelligent woman also, because we're going to make sure women, even if they're supervillains, get their flowers on here, because they don't. Men supervillains get their flowers. We make excuses for them. We prop them up. But women supervillains, they need to have their day in the sun, too. So here's to Lauren. Now, Lauren she was a journalist, you know, she had some laurels, you know, and some logs, and she was a helicopter pilot that Jeff was taking lessons from. That's certainly a way to meet other rich men, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's how they met. And I'm unsure of her marital status when that happened, but she wasn't like Vanderbilt's wife. You know, she made herself. You know, she came up by hook or by crook. You know, she's a Latina, right? So a woman of color, a white Latina, but she might, you know, I don't know what her color was. People change their color. They change their faces. They change everything. I don't know. She could have been my color before. Who knows? But, you know, we'll suspend belief for a moment. We're going to talk about the Strait of Hormuz, the death of the Met Gala, because it's no longer a thing. You guys, it's the Hunger Games. Stop looking at stuff.
It really is. I mean,
I don't care. They put your heroes on there. They're bringing in Black people, trans people, Native American people. They've got eat the rich dresses and blindfolds made out of money. And none of that excuses the colossal, tone-deaf waste of resources that is in these times. Shouldn't be happening. They should suspend the Met Gala and do charity. Okay? It used to be a cultural force. It's just not. Millions of adults are now emotionally regulating themselves. We talk about that with tiny Lego cooking videos.
Oh my gosh.
At 1:30 in the morning.
Not naming names, but.
Not naming any names. So let's start with the straight at home moves, right? You guys, we talked a little bit about it. I'm just going to walk you through. Give me a paragraph here, okay? It's a narrow little artery through which roughly 20% of the world's oil, okay? We use more than 20% in the United States of the world's oil, just so you are clear on that.
Of course.
So there's a geopolitical tantrum happening now in that corridor, and Americans are panic posturing pictures of gas station signs that like they're storm tracking the freaking Weather Channel. Okay. The fascinating thing is that gas prices are psychological warfare right now. Right?
Explain. I don't quite follow.
Traders are reacting to vibes.
Gotcha.
Before the shortages even happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you must know that the majority of these in the bell of the curve of traders is probably a lot of older millennials and late 30s millennials. Okay. So they're reacting to the vibes. They're the vibe people. And the markets aren't just responding to supply. I think they're responding to the possibility that somewhere somebody with missiles and hurt feelings might do something. Okay. And the part that people aren't saying out loud, to be perfectly honest, is that Americans don't really experience foreign policy through diplomacy. You know, we've always, for the last 80 years, we've experienced foreign policy through rolling out the scroll, the Monty Python scroll, and saying, this is how it's going to go, everyone. Okay. Right. And so the way that we experience diplomacy, it's working. We buy our tacos for $189. It's not working. It costs $96 to fill our Hondas. Okay.
And that is not a big exaggeration, because I almost died when I filled up my SUV the other day. Oh my God.
It's wild out here. Okay. So the Met Gala happened, allegedly. Did anybody care? It used to feel like a monarchy level cultural event, like all of our American royalty, which was our pop culture, whoever was popular in pop culture, serious performers. You know, the old formula was, I think, aspirational. And we were like, oh my God, look how glamorous it all is. Right. You know? But we're living in a time where people can't afford rent and eggs and a surprise prescription refill.
It's the let them eat cake moment, you know?
So you know what that means? I think it means that the psychic contract broke. And so wealth signaling right now is what we're seeing. Ain't nobody got time for that. Okay. And it's starting to feel like Roman Empire, like stuff, right? And so, and also like the 18th century France. And social media killed exclusivity, right? We used to all have to sit down and look at the same channel, and we can't. And you can't be elite if Perez Hilton is live streaming you and making commentary, girl, in real time. Okay. So it's like, take some of the mystery and the magic out of it. Social media leveled the playing field, but it also took the glitz and the glamour out of everything, right? We've got as many pictures of Kim Kardashian's backside as we have of her ugly crying from her show. Right? And so now let's talk about Lego videos for a second, and then we'll give it back to the people and let them have their way. Okay. If you have escaped the Lego phenomenon, I want to tell you that there are millions of people, professional students, whatever you got, exhausted parents, politically traumatized, that would include me, watching tiny Lego people make microscopic sandwiches with fake sizzling sounds for stress relief. Okay. There's also these, what many Americans are getting a political education from the videos that we've been sharing in our Surly Voices group chat, where they're telling the story from their angle what happened. Now, something has happened to these videos very recently. Once they became superbly popular, what happened was the people who are making these videos, and we don't have any proof of who's making them. So as you know, just to protect my listeners, I won't say that. But the videos have become a ministry.
Yes.
To Americans, and they're saying things like, hold on, you know, the light of day is coming, we see you. And it's like Midwest at 11 p.m., Brooklyn at 2 a.m., people trying to pay their bills. Now, there's something in this that's a little bit dangerous, right? Propaganda is propaganda. Now, there's more, I will admit this, there's more of the truth of our situation in this propaganda than there is in anything coming out of the White House.
Amen. Yes.
And that's why they're winning with these videos. Not because the Ayatollah or whoever it is right here at this moment, the Shah, the Ayatollah, the son of the Ayatollah, whoever is running that country right now, we've seen the stories of their children running amok in Europe, acting like royalty. They're not being held to the same standards, rules, economic, austerity as the people of Iran. Like, these are things that are really happening. So we cannot brush that under the rug, right? Because at the top of all of the governments around the country, around the world, there's corruption. That's the era we're living in. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. So when you have a government that is a religious, basically monarchy, you are going to have corruption. So I'll just put a pin in that for those of you who are going to call in later and say, well, what about what these people are doing in their own country to their own people? Nobody is ignoring that. But we have ignored for the past several decades what is going on in this country and what is happening to these people. But I won't get off topic. I need you to understand that this stuff that's going on is not random, okay? People are using every mechanism they can to cope, y'all. Okay, so not just doom scrolling, not, raging at the machine, the Democrat machine that says we will not allow you to have the candidates that will speak into your listening or to speak your truths or to talk about what's really happening in your lives and about people rationing insulin. Yes, we're rationing insulin. We're trying to figure out. Last night, I was leaving the office at 9:00, right? Because I'm in this too. Right. Leaving the office at 9:00, 9:30. And someone had their groceries delivered to the office. I do this. I have my groceries delivered to the office. So I go up the stairs one time because these stairs in these buildings, these old red bricks in St. Louis, they're steep. So I'll have them delivered to the office. I'll put them in my car and then I'll bring them into my house. And there are several refrigerators so I can keep things that need refrigerating in the empty big refrigerators in the office. So last night, someone had their grocery delivered and there were like 20 bags and 2 12-packs of soda just sitting in the front door. Now, this office is downtown. It's very secure. And they were just there. And I guess they forgot they ordered them, went home, thought they weren't coming. And I was going to just go on about my day. I turned around, went back to the office and moved all those groceries into the office. Because this is a terrible, all those groceries, a bunch of junk food, Totino's pizzas, noodles. So, chicken bags and bags of chicken nuggets. I'm not judging. I am, no. But that was someone's grocery for a couple of weeks. And it's probably cost them more than $200 on today's market. And I couldn't imagine some struggling young person who's trying to start a business losing their entire grocery order, because that's where we are. Right. That's where we are as a civilization. If you lose $200, you might not eat, or you might have very little good things to eat for a while. So we're going to come back and unpack what will happen if the tensions around the Strait of Hormuz escalate. I read yesterday that they are reviewing their proposal for a ceasefire, but none of the demands that they made were earlier on about the history between these two countries and reparations for such are being met with any seriousness by the United States, particularly not J.D. Vance, who seems to be making a mockery of these negotiations, okay? Mm-hmm. So Americans are becoming more detached. I go on the internet. I used to be on there all the time talking about stuff, doing stuff. Now I'm just using the internet to expose people who need to be exposed. Okay, if you're a candidate and you're not paying your bills and you got $5,000 in the bank and you got $32,000 in debts, and I may or may not be one of the people who didn't get paid, I'm going to tell everyone.
Oh.
Okay. Because we can't have more people like that.
Right.
In positions of authority. So stay with us, Surly Voices. Liz, you're going to give the disclaimer and take any callers that we may have.
Awesome. The opinions expressed on Surly Voices are those of Surly Voices and not those of WMNF Tampa. If you guys want to give us a call, the number is 813-239-9663, or you can email to dj@wmnf.org. Let's talk for a minute about Kash Patel and the Rager dude with Hegseth.
Yes.
Why are they still in the positions they are when the women who messed up their positions so badly have been kicked to the curb? I'm not, I mean, is it because they are just total sycophants and Trump just doesn't care? There's no limit to what they will do for Trump, apparently.
So let's talk about the Kit Kat bar of power, okay?
Okay.
Now, who gets a piece of the Kit Kat bar? Kit Kat bar, first, we must remember, belongs to white men. Okay?
Yep.
They are the owners and controllers of global capital. Okay? They are the hand. So white women sit next to white men, and they got really obnoxious about 100 years or so ago about feeling like property. So white men are like, I'm not listening to this stuff all the time. Here's your piece of the Kit Kat bar. So they break them off a piece of the Kit Kat bar, right? And they say, you're talking about giving other people with penises rights, but they're Black. Don't forget that. So
Right.
They told Frederick Douglass to go sit down, Susan B. Anthony and Katie B. Stanton. So white women got suffrage. And so that's all they got, though. They got suffrage, and they got to continue to keep being property and having babies. But I guess, movements do go in increments, whether we like it or not. But that's how it works. So later on, they said, okay, we need Black people because we want to keep winning our elections. And so someone decided that it was a good idea to go ahead and stop the whining. And I'm using today's, angle on people demanding rights. It's whining, it's victim mentality, it's the race card, it's, the trans people they're saying too many words, they're asking for too many things. So they wanted to stop the Black people from whining, and they also probably just needed us because the only time we ever get anything is when someone needs something from us, because we've been a commodity in this country since 1419.
Yep.
But I'll say less about that today and more about women and who's getting a piece of the political Kit Kat bar power. So they needed Black people to broker the vote, so Black people got a piece of the Kit Kat bar, but not a full bar, right? You gotta have some literacy tests, guess how many jelly beans are in the jar, a little bit of murder mixed in there with your voting rights. A little bit of midnight killing in Mississippi to go with your voting rights, just in case you get too big for your britches.
Right.
So now we've got that going on. So white women were always borrowing their piece of the Kit Kat bar. It was always on a contingency, right? Don't do too much, have babies, and keep this country populated with white men. And if you do that, we will continue to allow you to have some semblance of at least, a modicum, a crumb, a slice, if you will, a piece of my Kit Kat bar. Well, white women have stopped having babies, and they have stopped accepting the patriarchy. They are wearing their booty cheeks out, and they're twerking. White men said, wait a minute.
You can't do that.
You are breaking the contract. And so now they are taking back whatever, if they ever gave, right, that piece of the political power Kit Kat bar from white women. And white women thought after Roe versus Wade, okay, we've got the pill, we've burned our bras, we've got our right to vote, we're better than Black people. We'll use them as necessary, which is why we always get bullied when with voting time. The white women in the Democratic Party bully Black people and say that they say we can't read, we're low propensity voters, but then they say, why aren't you voting the way we want you to?
Right.
Okay.
It's the vote blue no matter who folks saying that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we've gone around and around and around on that. So there's no need to belabor that here today. So white women are on a contingency, and they're breaking the social contract they made with white men, and they're having their rights taken back, and they're being asked to go back into the kitchen. They're being asked to have more children. They're being asked to be stay-at-home moms again. Mm-hmm. Some people are so exhausted with the economy and everything, and the student loans and everything that it takes to be a whole person functioning in a capitalist, in-stage capitalism, that they're saying yes to it. There are plenty of women who are seeking that out, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're seeing a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of murder-suicides going on, not just among women that are accepting the deal of being a stay-at-home mom, a barefoot and pregnant, or just whatever. I don't want to judge it necessarily, but the fact that that's something that's coming back after we fought so hard for rights is an indicator of something that's happening in the culture, and it shouldn't be ignored. And we ignore it at great peril to ourselves. Okay, right. So the women who are taking the deal are finding themselves in situations where they have returned to 1800s type helplessness, okay? And then men, when they cannot take care of these women and they cannot pay all these bills and they can't buy the pony for the 3-year-old, they're just killing the whole family, okay? Because women and children are disposable, right? They're tools.
Right.
Okay? Sons are heirs, women are uteruses, and if they don't play properly, then we will just dispose of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Stanley in Tampa. Hi, Stanley.
Yeah, hi. I was just wanting to make a comment about something I thought I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. But was there something said about if a politician is running and they owe money and don't have, and they're in debt or something, that you put that out there or you don't vote for them? And if I'm mistaken, I'm sorry, but if that was the gist of what you said, my response would be, well, that probably represents a good chunk of society that, whereas, I myself, I'm tired of the billionaire class being elected.
Okay, let me stop you because I don't want you to waste our time. I don't want you to waste your time. So be respectful.
I don't want to waste your time. Sure.
So let me say this. What I'm saying is, if you acquire a service you do not need, I want to be clear. So let's say I went to get some Botox and I got the Botox on credit. And then when the people came back and they said, you're going to pay this in 30 days. Yes, I am. I didn't need this Botox. This was not grocery. This was not insulin. Okay, this was not my mortgage. This was not my car payment that I'm required for my 30-minute drive to work every day. This was something that I wanted. And I told a person who works for a living, I'm going to pay you in 30 days, X amount of dollars. Not only do I not pay them, I do not enter into an arrangement. I do not acknowledge the invoices. I simply refuse to pay. In the meantime, I go out to the public and I say, I am going to be a purveyor of democracy, a signal of justice, a beacon of righteousness for all the people that I represent. Not voting for you, sorry. Not doing it, okay? Willful obstruction of working people's salaries in the pursuit of vanity will not equal leadership in my world. Maybe yours, but not mine. I'm not talking about groceries. I'm not talking about using credit to take your pet to the vet and then making an installment arrangement on that. I'm not talking about the CT scan that I got last year where it was $5,000 because the doctor wanted me to have it in the hospital. And my copay was $2,000, even though I was almost paying $1,000 a month for the premium, $70 for a doctor's visit, $900 a month for one medication, and $500 for another. I had to make that $2,000 a payment arrangement. That's not what I'm talking about. That's what you're talking about. Okay.
Okay, good. I'm glad to clarify. I didn't hear the part about, some type of elective cosmetic surgery and then not.
Yeah, people.
However, I certainly will vote for somebody that has debt. I don't know how I can verify what they spend everything on, but I won't that be the sole reason I wouldn't vote for it.
But to be clear, I'm literally talking about people who set up a campaign, hire campaign staff, and then simply do not pay them. Okay, and your reports show that. And when people try to talk to you about the bills, you just ignore them, and then you continue your campaign.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Thanks so much for calling, Stanley.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So, what do we do? Well, but think of this, okay? Trump has had, what, 1 million bankruptcies by now? And of course, I'm exaggerating. Clearly people don't have a problem with people who can't manage their money and other things.
Because we went through this with Stacey Abrams. She had student loans. Maxwell Frost couldn't afford to live in D.C. when he got there. AOC couldn't find an apartment because they don't come from that class of people that normally seek and occupy office.
Right.
They had student loans. They had debt when they assumed office. And that's okay because most of us do.
Yeah. So, yeah. So what are our predictions for the next, say, 3 weeks as far as the current regime goes?
The Strait of Hormuz doesn't open, okay? And we get to we found out after the election that we are in the FAFO segment of the Anglo-Saxon turning, this fourth turning of Anglo-Saxon history that I'm living in, and it feels like a fever dream or a hellscape, but all this melanin in this space ain't really vibing, but another show. I will say that the Strait of Hormuz doesn't open, and we find out some things about the shortcomings, the enduring shortcomings of American foreign policy and the intellectual shortcomings of the people who are ruling us. Not governing, ruling.
Ruling us.
Because nobody asked for this.
Yeah. So who is driving the bus at the White House, do you think? Do you really think Trump has that much to do with the decision making, or is it more like Stephen Stephen Miller? Do you think Stephen Miller is the one who is calling the shots?
I don't have any proof, so I don't really want to go too far into this, but I think Stephen Miller is representative of another of a cabal that's off camera. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that these so-called thinkers. This is not 1774 here, right, where Thomas Jefferson and you had to be smart to be in these spaces. That's not this anymore. You have to have an idea and the ability to use ChatGPT to further your biases, and you get to be a demagogue. That's where we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So Stephen Miller is not a serious person, nor are the people, the monarchists behind him. Monarchists. Can you believe I'm even saying that word?
Yeah. The guy from Palantir. What's his name?
We're going to call them all. We're going to call them all the Stevens. Okay.
They're all the Stevens. Yes.
They're all Steven because they're all just like a unipersonality. They have no original thoughts. They just want white men to be in control, and they come up with the most far-fetched ideas to, push that forward. Mm-hmm. It's exhausting and it's boring.
It is, and it's like, I don't. How do we get out of this doom spiral? It's like we are never going. It's going to take years and years and years and years to fix.
Let's look into that. Look into that.
Okay.
It's going to take a lot of stuff for us to get out of it. But what's the mechanism? What is the unifying organization that could help us there? Is it the Democratic Party?
No.
Okay. Is it DSA?
No.
Okay. So it sounds to me, just based on, we're doing a stand-up back of the napkin assessment here.
Yeah.
So I'm going super deep into this because I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about just what we'll have to do to get there. And I suppose I should. because anyone of average ability can sit down and talk about what the problem is endlessly. But not everyone can sort out what needs to happen, put forth good ideas about what we can do about our problem.
Right.
I do know that the organization that can help us solve our issues doesn't exist currently. And if it does exist, it has turned its lens loudly and convincingly enough toward the work before us. Okay. So maybe the organization does exist. I was in DC last week, and all I see are people who think that we're going to still be in the same place 10, 20 years from now, staking all their bets on things continuing and the party continuing in its current condition or improving by some miracle.
Yeah, no. We're talking about the Democratic Party. Yeah, no. No. It's not going to improve. It needs a total overhaul.
Bunch of people think that it's going to be okay if we register enough voters, if we get more white male candidates, because we finally admit that we're racist and we can't vote for anyone that isn't white and male. But then here's the thing. That's false, right? That's completely false, because we have evidence that that's not true. So what do? Right? We know that we want something different. We know that the party as an apparatus is blocking that something different.
Yes.
We know that most of those people in the party that are blocking that something different aren't going to be around in 20 years because they're already 70 or 80 years old. Mm-hmm. So since they're not going to let us use any of the science, most of those people will be gone. If they let us use the science, it will still be around. A little stem cell here, stem cell there, a little insulin, a couple of stem cells, new pancreas, no more diabetes. We could do all of that. We're just not doing it. So unless there's one way out of this, right? The people have to wrest control of the apparatus that is currently derailing our efforts, or they have to create a new one. None of and I want to say this for people who are listening, communists, socialists, everybody out there, there is currently, in my estimation, no party that exists that is giving what needs to be given to get us where we want to go. Maybe that's why I haven't thought about it a lot.
Oh, okay. Let's talk to Jerry in Tampa. Hi, Jerry.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks for taking my call. So I want to throw a couple things out there, and then you can respond to whatever you want to. So I just listened to Democracy Now! So major news that was profound to me is Saudi Arabia wouldn't let us in. They wouldn't let us in to deal with this situation, and that's not being mentioned too much on the news at all, or that's not being mentioned anywhere. Who else is producing that news? That's a big deal. It might be a first time in history. Now let's go back. Elon said the BBB was a piece of crap. That's his own guy. So that's a mess. $1.2 billion a day as a conservative estimate for the war?
Yep.
Which we've already blown the budget, and now we got to pay for the ballroom. I mean, fiscal responsibility, it's just out the window.
Right.
It's just out the window. And I agree with that woman said. So I agree with what you just said. I'm an independent. I don't think an independent vote is wasted. I don't care. I mean, I'm not happy with this administration, obviously, but an independent vote is not wasted if that's what you believe in, and that's what it takes to make some major changes. So how about comment on any of those?
Okay.
I'll take it offline. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jerry.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, so Jerry, I think the question, okay, so this is where the shortcoming in U.S. foreign policy shows itself, right? Our understanding of geoglobal politics. Why isn't Saudi Arabia letting us in? To me, sounds like the setup to a joke.
Yeah.
But I think it's a revealing geopolitical question. I think it's one of the most revealing that people can ask right now. So I would say over the last several decades, Americans were taught to think of oil-producing Gulf states, particularly Saudi Arabia, as basically part of the American economic system. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think of George Bush and the Saudis. One oil family on one side of the ocean to another oil family on the other side of the world. Okay, we protected their shipping lane. We sold weapons. We stationed troops. We stabilized regimes. We did all this stuff. The assumption that when things got shaky, Saudi Arabia is going to open up the taps, right? Calm the global oil prices. Then the world changed, y'all. Saudi Arabia is no longer a loyal junior partner.
Right.
It's an independent power broker. Welcome to the BRICS, right? And so I brought this to you. I brought this to you a few months back, right? Maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
We started talking about the BRICS and the owners and controllers of global capital, and how people were moving away from the American dollar. It used to be that the dollar was not the most valuable currency in the world, but the dollar is not the most stable currency in the world. When I worked for the airlines back in 2000, they said that the IAFT, International Air and Federation, something like that, they put everything in dollars because the dollar was the most stable. And I said in the class, wait a minute, dollar is the most stable. I couldn't hear valuable. I was hearing valuable. No, it's the most stable because we can adjust the value of the dollar, raise interest rates, lower interest rates. It's almost like a little abacus. You could just move the little beads around and change the outcome. So people kept their money in dollars because, the chances of it crashing were low. Mm-hmm. But now they don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. That silence there is something. So the BRICS, if you are initiates, right? The Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, which was added later, which made BRIC BRIC become BRICS. And that term was coined by a Goldman Sachs economist in the early 2000s. I'm sorry. To describe large emerging economies that were expected to reshape our global economic power. Now, in recent years, BRICS has expanded politically and economically into more of a counterweight to block U.S. Western dominance around trade, things like alternative currencies, reducing dependency on the dollar, and when people need development financing, when someone wants to build something in Guinea, they used to come to the United States and appeal to us. Increasingly, a lot of building is in Africa is being done by Chinese. Okay, and then there's some technology stuff being done by Israelis. So additional countries that have expanded the BRICS framework include developing nations like Saudi Arabia, Iran, UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia. Now, I know to y'all, Saudi Arabia, UAE, it's the same country. It's all the same. It's the people who wear the rags, right? Like, Merca. But I can assure you that Ethiopia entering that space is a signal to the rest of you. Okay? Pay attention. The reason that BRICS matters geopolitically reflects the broader shift. These countries, so many countries around the world no longer want organized almost entirely around U.S. financial institutions, NATO-aligned politics and dollar dependency. That's going away. So basically what you're seeing is the U.S. global hegemon dissolving in its power and its might. Mm-hmm. All that's really left is a lot of bullying around the military. That's what's left. And so Saudi Arabia isn't letting us in because China and Russia are in the BRICS. And there's about as many people in the Chinese army as there are living in the United States. Make no bones about it, right? Let me be clear. The combination of these countries outstrips whatever perception of power the U.S. has. And now that they've lost the psychological warfare that they imposed on the world into believing that their might was without end and eternal, the sun gods are dead.
Yeah.
And that's why Saudi Arabia isn't letting us in. And that's why, to me, it sounded like a setup to a joke.
Ah, yeah. Let's talk to Mike in Sarasota. Hi, Mike.
Hey, good morning. I wanted to respond to something that Jeremy just said. Two things. First, I listened to the same Democracy Now!, and not only was it Saudi Arabia, but there was another country which refused to let the U.S. use its bases. And so we have two Arab countries, and apparently that was speculated to be a reason that Trump had to call off his Operation Freedom because he doesn't have the air cover for it. So that's one thing. And this dovetails exactly with what you're saying about America's losing its global hegemon status. My second question, or actually my only question is, and this concerns what Jeremy was talking about with his whether or not an independent vote is wasted. In parliamentary system countries, an independent vote is often not wasted because what happens is, you can vote for your conscience, you can vote Green Party, whatever, and then that party will then form an alliance with one of the major parties and actually have some representation in the government. Different from the U.S. system where it's winner takes all. It's either Republicans get it or Democrats get it, what usually happens. So I know, yes, we do not live in a parliamentary system, but my question to you as political experts is it possible for any state to adopt a parliamentary system, or is that prohibited by the Constitution? Can we get parliamentary politics in Florida or any other state?
Good question. I've never really thought about that, but
I think that's a good question. I think that some states are called states and some are called commonwealths, and some have assemblies and assemblymen, and some have legislators and senators. And I think that as long as there's a governing body, now I'm going to research this for you, but as long as there's a governing body in a state where they're coming to a democratic, I don't think you can just be like a communist state. Right? But if you're coming to democratic decisions, you can call your governing body and use the rules of governing that body, in whatever ways that do not contradict membership in the United States. And you know what? And I think that this conversation, the fact that we're having it, is also a hallmark. It's a milestone because we've never talked about state government, and it's never going to have been so important as it is right now. Okay, the fact that our caller called in and was talking about what type of how states govern themselves is very important.
Yeah. We're gonna research this, Mike, and we're gonna get back to it next week or the week after, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye. I've got an email here, Donna, and it says, can you speak as to why DSA is not the solution?
Well, first of all, I like DSA. Let me say that so people won't come for me. I do. I go to DSA meetings and I'm about 2 inches away from joining, right? So having said that, I am unsure if I am welcome as a person of color. My ideas, my unique experience in living in a segregated country for me and my ancestors for about half a millennium. I am unsure that I fit into those spaces. I'm unsure. I was at a meeting in St. Pete a few weeks back, and someone who was gay and Black stood up and was making, some waves around how they felt they were received in those spaces. Now, as someone who works in politics, I literally don't give a doggone about how people receive me in those spaces. I'm in there, I'm making money, my body of work is respected. But for some 22-year-old kid coming into that space, he's like, what the is this, So you guys, whether you know it or not, you still have, if you are a part of the caller, the person who emailed is a part of DSA, I want you to know that there is a clear delineation between emerging Black thought and thought leaders and what DSA can and will do in our community. And I believe that the Bernie movement and Bernie Bros showed us exactly how this movement was, in our estimation, I'm not speaking for all Black people, but I'm speaking to the things that I've heard coming out of the community, is that the movement is 10 miles wide and 1 inch deep. And it only seems to be able to champion people who are not unambiguous Black people. I'd like to see DSA put the same kind of energy around an unambiguously Black person with roots, ties, and focuses in the Black community the way they've gotten behind other candidates. I want to see that first. And I also need to say it is very difficult for a person my age and my race to be in those spaces.
Okay, so that makes sense. Also, the both Democrats and Republicans have made socialism a dirty word. However, Rudy Giuliani was in the hospital this past week with pneumonia, and apparently he gets to tap into the 9/11 fund. And so it's like, wait, isn't that kind of like socialism, Rudy Giuliani? So it was, I was surprised that he could, because that was for first responders. So it's like, okay, he wasn't really a first responder, but I guess, yeah, he was in the fallout, but still, it's like, oh. Did you hear about that, Donna? I lost her. So let's see. Rich in Brooksville says, buy the wand, sell the dollar-denominated investments to, I don't have my glasses, go long on China and South Korea. Our debt exceeds our GDP and borrowing costs will increase. No bueno. Yeah. It's like we are so far in the hole. It's, the most self-serving presidency I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen some folks who, well, let's face it, none of them go starving after they leave the White House. They're speaking engagements and things like that. But this administration is just raking in money left and right. When they go places, they stay in Trump properties, if at all possible, as Trump bills the United States for those stays. The mega ballroom that we absolutely need to have is, at first it was going to be donors financing it. Now we, the people, are going to be financing it. It's been an absolute, smorgasbord of opportunities for Trump because apparently nobody is going to hold him to account. Nobody. So it's, except the Lego videos maybe, because that's where you go to find out. A new one just dropped and it's absolutely the most hilarious thing you ever saw in your life. But Lego videos can only do so much. So it's been, excuse me, this ballroom nonsense with the alleged assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's like, okay, wait. The first thing, he doesn't talk about, the need for gun control because, God forbid. He doesn't talk about providing young white men in particular mental health counseling. The first thing he says is, see, this is why I need a ballroom because it's not secure anywhere else. It was so blatant that I wonder how the guy who came in with the gun, I wonder what his motivation was, really. But we may never know because these young men who are doing all this get put away for life and we never hear from them again. So, let's see, we're coming into the home stretch. Oh, go ahead, Donna.
I'm unsure of what's actually happening or how much of this stuff is happening. I can't say a lot about that because, we're not allowed to do anything that's sounds like we're hawking conspiracies on this.
Too late.
on the airwaves. But how many assassination attempts? What is happening, right? And it's a delicate thing, how you talk about it. You saw what happened to Comey. How you talk about what's going on can land you, in a bad place. And so I wouldn't recommend to people who are, putting 86-47. I wouldn't want. I'm not putting that on my Facebook page, and I would suggest to people not to do that because the witch hunts are starting. We would be remiss not to talk about the legislator, the 82-year-old legislator in Virginia, who said, we blanking started it, y'all blanking started it, and we blanking finished it. As of about around 2 p.m. yesterday, the FBI was raiding her office.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we're not talking, and the reason why I was able to go out and say that was this is not necessarily conspiratorial. When you make a comment in the media, and the next thing you know, you're being raided. 82 years old,
Wow.
has been a key player in Virginia politics for decades, and is now having her. What do they expect to find that they haven't found in the last 50 years?
Well, you know how the stop and frisk works. Everybody always finds something that is totally unexpected. So
yeah, what did they say? Sprinkle a little crack on it.
Yeah. Oh, it's not yours. It's your friend's, right? Let's talk to Kirk in St. Petersburg, and he will be our last caller for the day. Hi, Kirk.
Good morning. How you folks doing on this sort of nice day?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. When you guys were talking about Trump with the so-called assassination attempt at the big dinner, and then they referred back to the ballroom needed for security. It brought to my mind the attempt on the golf course at his life.
Yes.
So
the dude poking his gun through the bushes on the golf course.
Yeah. So why in God's name is he playing golf anywhere?
Exactly. Well, you know what? The bunker will probably have a golf course in it.
Yeah, next to the data center.
All right.
Well, that's all. When I heard that, I couldn't help but call. I just was, oh, man.
Yeah, exactly. But thanks for calling, Kirk.
We're going to need the help.
Yeah. Thank you for calling.
Okie doke.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay. So, yeah. Good point. Yeah, you don't stop him from going to golf courses. And there was another one. There's been 4 altogether. There was the one in Pennsylvania, and then the golf course, and the alleged attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. There was a third one. But, yeah, and then he's complaining or bragging that he's had the most assassination attempts so far. And it's like, no, Obama actually had 11. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So I've seen those figures put out. Nobody gets away without one, apparently. So, but they don't go on. Obama wasn't on the news every 2 seconds bragging about how he had an assassination attempt either. So, it's a lot of very media savvy kind of spinning that goes on all the time. Memphis Mary says, we're not living with Nazism. It's more like Stalin's Bolshevism. Memphis Mary, good to hear from you. So, any wrap up here, Donna? Because Frank's itching to give me the finger.
I think that we need to be watching BRICS. You guys, if you're not familiar with it, I've been talking about this for almost a year now. Go back and read about BRICS, because if it becomes a truly unified power, lifestyles in this country for us will change. I think that's particularly of import for our audience, because we're talking about a lot of retirees living on fixed income and government checks, that they've earned throughout their lifetime. So I would be paying attention to that more than I'm being worried that the Democratic Party is or isn't going to do. This is so much bigger than all of that nonsense.
Yeah. All right. So Frank just gives me the finger, and that means it's time to go. Thank you so much for joining us on Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. And please tune in next week.
I like diamonds. I like stunning, I like shining, I like $1 million deals. Where's my pen? I'm signing. I like those Balenciagas, the ones that look like socks. I like going to the Tula. I put rocks all in my watch. I like texts from my exes when they want a second chance. I like proving wrong. I do what they say I can't. They call me Cardi, banging body, spicy mommy, hot tamale, out of